The Google Gang Podcast.
No, I've never tried steroids, despite the fact that I spent 15 years in the fitness industry.
Right.
I've never done.
Do you feel like you wanted to? Do you feel like it would have made you a different person if you had got into the roids?
If I'd gone roids?
If you'd gotten into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've always been a little bit reluctant to kind of allow hormones to take over. I think just that idea of kind of I think if it wasn't for the kind of like the effeminate, how you can kind of take steroids. Oh, we're a big fucking guy.
Yeah.
And then you end up with a really small penis. I think that's one of God's jokes. On steroids.
The more masculine you are, the smaller your penis is. Well, the more masculine you are artificially.
Yeah, I think if you if you haven't made it naturally, then I think that was always the thing with me. I didn't want to. I don't think it was so much as a conscious thought out thing of weighing the pros and cons. I think just when I found out that side effects of steroids, acne. Yeah, well, I had enough of that the first time around.
Yeah.
I already have a bad enough temper. I think there are times. People today, the Metrolink tram ticket machines.
Yeah.
They're not complex. They're not it's not a fucking supercomputer, and you get people standing there, kind of taking ages. There's a part of me that just wants to bang their head against it.
Who pays for tram tickets though?
Because I've been caught before now.
Have you? Tell me about when you were caught, because I've never been caught, and I catch the tram for free all the time. How did they catch you?
It was actually really. It was a really crappy one because I think like every single man here, it's a rite of passage, and I remember life before Metrolink.
Before the tram, or
before the tram? Yeah, before it used to be train lines, and most of the sort of out of the city bit was old. They kind of took out the train lines and put in.
Right, so all of it used to be connected, but it was nowhere near
as
efficient.
I mean the kind of like the Eccles stuff, when you're going down Ecclesney Road and it's kind of like you're driving along and there's a tram. That's all new.
Yeah.
And all the stuff in the city centre was new, but like Bury to
Old Tram?
No, Bury to Victoria.
Yeah.
That was a train line.
Right. What about out to like Ashton and that?
No, because Ashton's mostly on the road. If you go to Ashton on the tram, it's mostly on the road. So that was just a main road. I don't think there is a train line going out to Ashton, but it's not what Metrolink. That's still there. Yeah. But they just removed.
So how did you get caught when you got caught? How did they get you?
I lost my ticket.
Yeah. So you did have a ticket. Hectic.
Yeah, that's the bastard part of it, and I was sort of like, and I have a hoarding thing. It's not a deliberate thing. It's not like I think to myself, I am going to keep every single tram ticket I've ever used in my entire life. Yeah. But I carry around a bag that's got every single tram ticket. Well, not now, but it did at one point. I had tram tickets, and I literally sat there. It was like I felt like I was shuffling cards for poker. Yeah. It's here somewhere, Big pile of yellow tickets.
You just like chuck it.
I don't want to know. It's here. It's here. Stop writing the ticket.
It's like you're in a strip club and you're like making it rain.
Yeah.
Making it rain with old tram tickets.
But there's this kind of like pile. Look, you can see I'm invested in the network.
Yeah. See, if they pulled me over, my idea, because I don't even know what these people look like that check tram tickets. I assume they're just...
They look like trams with legs.
Really?
They're all yellow with a grey...
Do they have the cameras on their breasts as well? I think I have seen them.
That's quite new.
I think I've seen them like wandering around, but I just thought they were like police officers or something.
No.
But they're not.
No.
But my excuse would, tell me if this would work, right? If I was like, I'm over here from Australia and I'm doing a thing with Salford Uni and I've got my Australian university ID and I fly back on Saturday, you can fine me, but I won't pay it, and I don't have a fixed address.
They don't care. They'll just give you the ticket. I was kind of like, because I offered to, because I said, look, you know, because it got off with me at my stop. I was home, and if it wasn't for the fact that I'm probably about 5 stone overweight,
I
might have
just done a blitz,
just legging it.
Yeah.
But he was with. There were a couple of British Transport Police with him, and I was thinking, see, that's the thing about it. I used to train the police.
Yeah.
When I was a fitness instructor, and I got into that through the fact that there was a big news article about how unfit the police were, and that
and it was true, they were
it was true, they were so unfit, but I sent a thing in to Greater Manchester Police, and they picked it up, and one of the women who was in one of the classes that I did worked at Sedgley Park, which is one of the police training centres.
Yeah.
And it kind of all happened around and about, and I got in there, and you know, I said, it's fucking ridiculous. I've got, you know, people that come to my classes in the community. You could outrun your coppers, like in the bleep test. You know, they'd be away and your guys would still be looking for their car keys.
Yeah.
That's the only chance they would have of catching. And I didn't fancy trying to outrun them, because the helicopter. I live in Blakely, and we have almost constant. It's like Mogadishu. You know, we just have constant helicopter circling.
Yeah.
You know, it's Black Hawk down. Gatling guns.
Is it really helicopters around?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, hear them all the time. I you know, it's kind of you could get post-traumatic stress. You know, the Vietnam vet guy's going here.
Yeah.
Huey. Well, yeah, we can hear the police fucking helicopter because he's there nearly every day.
Jesus Christ.
Every day.
Is it a rough area?
Yeah, I do a big thing about it. It's kind of been. Now part of my set for quite a while. Blakely's the weirdest place, because it was in the Doomsday Book, right? When the Normans invaded 1066 and all that, Blakely was recorded in this massive historical document.
For what?
As the hunting ground. This is brilliant. I love this bit. It was recorded as the hunting grounds for the Lords of Manchester.
The hunting ground for animals?
For the Lords of Manchester. Yeah, they were. We still have deer.
Really?
In Blakely.
How far away is it from here?
It's probably about 4 miles outside of Victoria.
Okay.
So it's all northern quarter. Keep going north for a little while.
Right.
And you'll hit. It's right next to Heaton Park, where you have Park Life and all that.
Yeah.
And
there's still deer out there.
Yeah. We have a cemetery just around the corner, which is convenient. We have a cemetery in the hospital, and Blakely in the middle, and it's kind of like, really, one of those should be the other way around. But it's like it just fucking wheel you out.
Yeah.
So it's like down the hill and up again.
This one's done.
Yeah. So you go to the hospital, you go down the hill from Blakely into the hospital, and then all they do is they just get the gurney, push it, and it just goes up and over, and
straight into the ground.
Straight into the ground.
Yeah.
You know, skidding sideways. But yeah, Blakely is like this. It's a council estate. It's quite rough, and the best way to describe it that I've come up with, and I've found I've really played with it, with the sense of the sentence, but it's part Jeremy Kyle catchment area.
Yep.
Part site of special historic interest, you know, and it's kind of like it's absolutely bizarre. There's NOS canisters everywhere, and there was one night not so long ago I saw a badger, but it was carrying a NOS canister in its mouth, and I was, that's just fucking comedy. But it's so weird that you're thinking, maybe I'm on something and I didn't realise.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I am actually smoking something just by being on the street in Blakely, that I just keep seeing all this weird... You know, you're walking the dog and you see a deer and you think, that's not normal.
No.
In a Manchester suburb that's like, you know, probably, like I say, maybe 3 miles outside of the city centre.
That's crazy that it's still like a metropolitan area, but it's just like so wild. Not only are the people wild, but the animals are also just roaming around.
Honestly, people are bonkers.
Don't you feel like... Because have you lived in Manchester your whole life?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. I've had... done some time away. Yeah, I lived... I went to uni in Southport, which is near Liverpool.
Yep.
So you've got Liverpool, Southport, and you've got Preston, and then up to Blackpool.
Yeah.
I was in Ormskirk, which is just outside Southport. And so I was 3 years there. Then I had another 6 or 8 months living in Southport for a while, which is where hope goes to die. Southport's one of those coastal towns where geriatric people think it'd be nice to retire.
Yep.
You know, and you kind of go, and the coat of arms is a wheelchair and a colostomy bag. You know, it's though that kind of like, kind of, you know how like everywhere else, like paracetamol and ibuprofen and stuff like that are really, really cheap in the supermarkets.
Yeah.
There it's kind of Steridin tablets. And,
Steridin tablets. I buy Steridin tablets because I have a retainer I wear at night, so that would probably be my ideal place to live.
I can get my train ticket.
Yeah.
I'm going to stock up.
I'm going to stock up on Steridin.
Steridin tablets.
Yeah, I'll get a tram out there so I don't have to pay for the ticket.
The thing is that somebody who looks like you turns up in Southport, you will be, you know, grandmothered by every single woman in it, you know. There will be a grandparent just waiting for you at the station with a car.
It sounds like quite a fun place to go. It doesn't sound like the sort of place you'd want to be as a teenager, though. It's
not. It was a strange place. I mean, that's a strange. I have lived. Predominantly, I've lived in Manchester. I did 3 years there in Ormskirk. I mean, Ormskirk's really is quite remote in a sense. It's a bit more a little bit more cosmopolitan now. I think they have running water. The electricity is no longer a guy on a bike and a farm. But yeah, it's. I did 3 years there. About 6 to 8 months in Southport. Then I went to Spain for a while. When I came back from Spain, I went to Wales for a couple of years.
Okay.
And I thought Ormskirk was remote.
Where did you live in Wales? Quite remote.
Yeah, well, it's just outside the place where I was, just outside an airbase.
Okay.
But that's it.
Right. That was all that was going on there. Was your work relating to that airbase?
No. I worked in an outdoor pursuit centre.
Right. Okay.
I wanted to be a kayak instructor and be really cool, and you know, and I got to work in the kitchen.
Was that always the goal, to be a kayak instructor?
No. It was. I went there on my university. I did management and organisation and behavioural psychology, and we went on. It was back when, like, outdoor pursuits for team building was kind of the corporate thing.
Yeah. Because they were very common. Even like now, I think about it, like kids going on school camps and that sort of shit. It's nowhere near as cool as when I used to go on school camps. Like,
well, no, because people kept dying.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of. You know,
it sort of really does put a dampener on the industry.
The instructors were two guys, in kayaks, sharing a joint, not really looking at what was going on.
Yeah.
And then one guy would say to the other, "Is that kayak supposed to be upside down?
Yeah.
How long's it been like that?"
Yeah.
It's like, wouldn't it be really funny if there was dead things under there and you pull it out and it would, you know.
It's a dead 11-year-old.
Yeah. So it's kind of that happened too frequently.
Yeah. To stay in business.
And for it to be the thing to do. It was a fascinating time. It was a really weird place to work. I'd been through some shit, so I was like majorly depressed when I was there.
It's always fun when you come on school camp and the instructor's depressed.
Yeah. There's a guy in the kitchen sharpening knives just a little bit too intently.
He wants those knives to just be a little bit sharper than they probably need to.
You know that scene? Have you seen that Steven Seagal scene film Under Siege?
No, I haven't seen the film, but
it's fantastic. Some of these old films. Fucking old film. That's a really ridiculous idea. This is how old I don't feel. I kind of talk to people, millennials, about like movies from the 80s and the 90s, and they go, "I never heard of it."
Yeah.
So how the fuck did you not hear of that film? Basically, Under Siege was Tommy Lee Jones and a group of terrorists turn up to take over a warship that's being decommissioned.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think it's the Indianapolis, but it's something like that. And it's like a famous warship. And the head chef turns out to be a former Navy SEAL who's punched out too many officers, and it's like the only rank he could hold was cook or something else.
So he was still in the military, but all of his like power and authority had been taken off.
Yeah,
Unless it was to do with cutting potatoes, he had no authority.
But he has, and I had one, a chopping board with a circle in it, pinned up against the wall.
Yeah.
And he'd sharpen his knives, and any time anybody pissed him off, he'd just throw a knife.
Chuck it, yeah.
Chuck it. And I had one of those, and it was never considered a warning sign to anybody else that I worked with.
Yeah.
But perhaps I was going through some shit.
You might have been a bit unstable. Did you ever chuck knives at it though?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are you good at throwing knives?
Not now.
Oh, but you were at one stage.
But we're talking 20, 25 years ago, so it's kind of a long time.
Well, I just found out for the first time that you're 45, which I didn't realise. You don't look or act 45.
I don't know if that's such a good thing. I have the kind of for a while I wanted the big beard, the kind of the ZZ Top.
The beard made you look older.
But I had the massive. It got quite long at one point, but there was so much grey in it, it scared my wife.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, no, I don't want to be married to somebody who looks like that. That's too old.
Well, you are the first like married person that we've had on the podcast, so let's get into your marriage and no, not like.
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
No. The fun parts of your marriage. So how did you meet your wife?
I was an aerobics instructor, personal trainer.
Yep.
She was a member of the gym.
Right.
And where I got a job as, I was working there freelance, and then I got a job as the coordinator, as the manager of the studio timetable. And she wanted to become an instructor.
Right.
And we got chatting.
And that was it?
And that was it.
Right, so then you started dating. Now, this is going to be a really, not a difficult question. I'll just say it. I don't care about prefacing it. How did you know, when was the day that you realised that you were like, this is the girl that I want to propose to? Was there like a turning point? Was there a moment where something clicked over in your head?
Jeez. Yeah.
We're getting deep.
That I wasn't expecting that question. Yeah, it's kind of like, don't go there, mate. Don't go there, mate. Please, you might listen or die.
No, I'm asking nice questions.
She's, I'm really, really bad with, like, memory and time periods and stuff.
Yeah.
But there was a point, possibly a few weeks before we actually started going out, where she walked past me. And it wasn't that kind of real stalker shit that you hear people say, like, I'm going to marry that girl.
Yeah.
It was more of a fact of, this is somebody that she just blew me away. I couldn't think clearly about anything else.
Like for the rest of the day, there was like something else in your head.
No, past 15 fucking years.
No, but like that specific day that it happened, you were like, shit, there's something different. There's another thing that I can't get rid of.
I mean, there was always, I think from the moment, for me anyway, it was love at first sight, and she kind of walked into the studio, and the thing is to say that, and it sounds really melodramatic and really over emotional, but I can't actually remember that specific day that I first saw her.
But you remember the day that you noticed her.
I remember that there was a particular sort of. She threw me a smile as she walked past. She was on the phone. She was talking to me, and she walked past, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's more than somebody in the gym who comes to classes who I, you know, because I was teaching 20, 30 classes a week in probably 10 different gyms, an average of say 20 to 30 people per class. I'm not going to do the maths, but that's hundreds of people that I would see in a week. Yeah. And I was doing that.
And a lot of them weren't people you were going home and thinking about.
No, they weren't. They weren't thinking about. Thinking very intently about. But yeah, no, it wasn't. There wasn't anybody else that kind of. There hasn't ever been anybody else that quite. I think I don't even know, and this is the problem with the chronology, because we were kind of in conversation then. We went and had a coffee quite a few times, and sort of things sort of happened in the relationship. Start the relationship off quite quickly, but quite soon into the relationship, or within that period, I sent her on a text, I think it was, a message that was basically, "Will you marry me?" in Russian, because I just seen it. I thought it would be funny, and this is the problem with being the problem I've always had since I was about 4 years old. Yeah. And why now stand-up comedian, it's not an option. It's not something I can choose. I can't get up one day and say, "Fuck, I'm going to be an accountant. I can't do this anymore." Yeah. I would still get into every single job I've had in one, or relationship or whatever I've had, every single interaction with another human being in my life, I have one time or other got into trouble because I've said something.
Because it's funny.
Because it's funny. Yeah. Or at least it's funny to me.
See, I will say things like, my ex-girlfriend, we used to get in arguments, and I used to say, "You can't be angry at me because I did it because it was funny." I was like, I don't mean it. I'm not trying to upset anybody, but at that moment in time, you get that little impulse, and you think, if I say that, it will get a reaction, and it will make other people, or it will make me laugh, and then you just do it.
Because I'm a massive comedy geek. There's something apparently that Billy Crystal and Robin Williams were really, 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 really good mates. Yeah. As well as being, comedic partners. And there was a point where Billy Crystal described Robin Williams as being somebody who there's a gland that's been burnt out. Yeah. And that's filter or whatever. And I saw an interview the other day. Bill Burr, I think, was talking on Conan or something like that a while back, and he was saying, you can criticize him for what he said. Yeah. For we all know what Bill Burr's like, but the things that he comes out. You can criticize somebody for what they've said, and the impact that that's had. Yep. But you can't necessarily presume the intent behind what was said. 100%. I get that and agree with that, and that's one of the problems that I have in comedy, because I am essentially, although I said this in work the other day, I said, I'm a really nice guy. Until you piss me off, and then I'm not. Yeah. And then one of the guys turned around and went, when were you a nice guy? What the fuck? Don't say that. And I was genuine, and then I thought back of all my interactions with him in particular, and I was thinking, yeah, you're right, but that's not my fault. Yeah.
See, I used to have the outward perception that I was a nice guy, but I'm not. And as soon as you admit that you're not a nice guy, it makes saying and doing things that aren't that nice quite easy to do.
Yeah. I still think, I mean, you know, Maya has been, my wife has been for a very long time, my moral compass.
Yeah.
Through a lot of things.
Is she very different to you?
Yes and no. She's a lot. This is just between you and me. Nobody else is listening.
No one else is listening.
Yeah, she's a lot more intelligent than I.
Okay, that's fine.
She's yeah, I think there's an 8-year age difference.
Who's older?
Me.
Okay.
And I think that within that, there's a I've lived within the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Within the effluence of patriarchal society, but privilege.
Yeah.
Much more than she has.
Okay.
So I think there's, you know, I was thinking about it today, and I was thinking, you know, the term institutional racism was developed, came into the dictionary in my lifetime. There was a point where nobody quite realised the idea that, you know, an organisation and its practices and its way that it does things could be actually, as an institution, as a band of people, actually be something, you know, have a particular.
Because they never had that much influence or that much power or that much like social comment. It was never viewed in that way that they could get away with it.
You know what? I think it comes down to emotional intelligence more than anything else. I think pre-millennial generation, I don't think anybody had an awful lot of emotional intelligence. That's probably one of the more controversial things I might say.
Do you
think
about
it?
Do you feel like emotional intelligence, though, can be fostered out of... We were talking on the last podcast, life is too easy and people are bored and like they just want to feel something. Like I remember being on a night out with these lads and it was just as a joke. This guy says, why don't we just kill somebody just to feel something? And like, although it was funny at the time, we're like, haha, like we're having a laugh. I thought about it and I was like, not that I advocate murder, but I was like, that's the most thrilling thing in your life you can do. And like literally everybody's so fucking bored. Everything is so easy. You go to the shops, you order your groceries on your phone, you sit here, you want to watch a movie, there's internet on the TV, you can have any film you want. No one has to try hard to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, just to feel something, just to get an emotion, get a thrill, you start an argument, you punch someone, you know, you break a car window just for fun.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think.
And do you think as well you've got a lot of time to sit around and think about your emotions and think about how you feel, and you're also a lot more sensitive, so at the time when someone says something you don't agree with or you don't like, you have the ability to be more outraged and you can get more upset. I feel like people get more upset about everything nowadays.
I think it's this whole thing about offence. You know, and the sort of I got into this train of thought earlier, and I was thinking about we've got to save the planet.
Yeah.
Working behind the bar, the one thing that everybody we have paper straw. You would think paper straw is like the biggest fucking invention. You know, this is something that's happened now, and it's like...
How long have you had the paper straws for?
A few weeks.
Okay.
But maybe since Christmas.
Okay.
And it's kind of like...
It's now June, that's not a few weeks.
Yeah, no. Time doesn't really fly.
You did say
my life is like, you know, we'd fucking slow it down as much as possible.
He's bad at taking time.
But I was thinking today, you know, this whole thing about we've got to save the planet. Actually, really, we're doing so much damage that the best we could do, really, as a human race to save the planet would be just mass suicide. Just decompose, stop fucking using electricity, stop using fossil fuels, stop polluting the oceans. If we all just died, right, then So don't fucking sit there with your organic avocado and tell me, you know, that you're doing something for the planet, because you're really, really, really not. Because the planet would do so fantastic if we all just
weren't here. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing is that, you know, plastic bags and all that sort of stuff. If we could like tidy up before we did it.
Yeah.
And that's a really scary thought.
Yeah.
But I worry about that. I worry about partly because you know, if we all decided that communally, I think I would be the first to go, where's the line for the revolution?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. I really like my life in some ways.
Yeah.
I really, really like my life. I can get, you know, I still now get down, depressed and think, oh, everything's shit. And outside of my house, outside of my family, outside of, you know, me and the kids and Maya and that
vortex
that
created
that real sort of,
yeah,
you know, that bubble.
Yeah. It is. It's a safe
great
space that you've created for yourself and your family, where you feel comfortable to just do and say whatever you want, because it's your little crib, like that's your little.
But
area.
the further away I get from that, and it's kind of like there I can be, you know, I feel comfortable being nice and pleasant, and you know, that is a great place to be that person.
Yeah.
And then the further away from that is I start to feel like I'm going to get like Doug Stanhope, you know, Bill Burr. It's just, everything pisses me off. Everybody's like, you know, an arsehole.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know, killing somebody. The taxi driver I had last night drove me absolutely insane. And I actually posted on Facebook. And there was a part of me that was like, and the really weird thing is that the closer I was to the Comedy Store, I was writing this thing of like, you know, what I'm going to do, where I'm going to bury him, all that sort of stuff. And I kept deleting it as I got closer to home, and it became more and more sort of nicely diluted. This guy's pissing me off. So and I actually realised that was a thought process.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me, is this funny? No, it's not funny. No, that's a bit mean.
If you'd posted the first one you wrote, when you got home to that like calm place, you would have looked back at it and thought, "Oh shit,
I'm a monster.
Really gone hard here."
I'm a monster.
But in that exact moment when you wrote those things, it felt right because that was where you were at the time.
And it wasn't. It was just that sense of, you know, just frustration with it. It was 2:00 in the morning. It was going the wrong way, and you know, it was going to cost me loads of money. And, you know, and it was just like I got him onto the route that I knew was cheap, was direct, would get me home quick. You know, and I'd just be in that place, and he was arguing with me about whether he thought that was a good route or not. And I was thinking, you're an asshole. You're the reason I am in this situation right now. You're the reason why there's £5 on the meter for what's normally just over £10 a trip. And we haven't even got past, like, the city centre yet.
Yeah.
And in the end, I just went very outside of British mode and just really laid into him. Verbally, and not even like nastily, just saying, like, it's been a really long day. I've had a really shit night. You know, I feel like I just want to be home, and I don't want this journey to cost me a lot of money. Can you just shut up? Can you just stop talking and trying to fucking taxi driver splain? You know, it was just what, and he shut up, and then he started to talk again. I went,
no,
don't. And there was a point where I was thinking, you know, I know from here there's a couple of things, because I've done martial arts for a long time. I know from here there's a couple of things I could have done, and that would have been it for him.
Yeah.
You know, and I was thinking, what the hell is wrong with me? But I think you're right. I think there is. I think there is, and it's technology.
Yeah.
You know, that's done it.
Life is just too easy, and I feel like as well, too often, like you're talking about taxi drivers, people forget what their role is in life, what their job is. Now, I understand that taxi driver is a taxi driver. Let's say he's a taxi driver 8 hours of the day, and the other time, when he's not a taxi driver, he could do whatever the fuck he wants, right? At that time, when you're a taxi driver, you're working at a petrol station, you're an accountant, you're a lawyer, you're whatever. Know your role and stick to it. You don't need to counsel people. I get so frustrated. I'm at work. I work in retail, right? And the management are always like, oh, ask people about their holidays and their families and their kids. I was like, most people that come in don't want to talk about that. If they volunteer that information, I'm quite happy to have a yarn with them about whatever. But you don't need to be like, oh, so how's the family going? Like, unless I know you and I've met your family and I give a flying fuck about what they're up to, I'm not going to ask people about their home life.
And I think I'm glad to hear that's because I think that's another symptom of being older.
Yeah.
Because if I went into somewhere to buy a shirt, or
any product, it doesn't really matter what the product is.
Well, no, I'm trying to imagine because there are these traditions of certain places. When I was training to be a PT, and that's a long time ago now. But there was this big thing at the time, and I was kind of like, really? And I'd love to go back in time, knowing what I know now, because I could do some great comedy. It would serve absolutely no purpose other than the fact that it would be anarchically fucking hilarious. When they went, there was this big thing at the time, and every training organisation that was training personal trainers was saying the same thing. Personal trainers are going to become the new priesthood. What? And
in what sense that you're going to touch kids?
The idea being that you're spending 60 minutes of your life exercising, probably doing the dullest thing, because there is very little that you do to exercise your body in the modern world, where it's actually all that interesting, mentally engaging. No, you switch off and your brain goes somewhere else. But what people do, and it's true. The weird thing about it is it's true that you're training people, and suddenly, and I don't know whether it's endorphins. People's inhibitions come down and they start talking about their private lives. They start talking about...
That's okay if they invite it, but you as a personal trainer doesn't need to ask.
But that's the thing, and I was thinking, I was just trying to process that particular situation where...
People are going to tell you things in that state.
And if you're the kind of person with high levels of emotional intelligence and a high IQ, and you're going to think, I'm going to solve that shit for you, and have some form of connection where you think actually
some form of meaningful conversation.
I could do. I can help you with this. Then maybe. But if I went in to buy a Mars bar and somebody said, "How would your holiday?" I would literally just be, "Who the fuck are you? I want the chocolate.
Why are you asking?
Take my money. And go about the rest of your day. I am fine with just the Mars bar. And that process of having that conversation with somebody, of having to say to somebody, back off, rein your neck in, would be enough to make me angry for the rest of the day. Just that low level of but I think part of that is me. I was in counselling earlier in the year, and I drove my anger management counsellor, I think, a little bit nutty. And unfortunately, she was a really nice person as well, but
she's no longer with us.
I'm sure she is. I don't see any remark. I'm fairly certain she wasn't. She wasn't faking a pregnancy to get rid of me. But,
imagine if she got pregnant. It was a real pregnancy, but it was to get rid of you. And every time she looks at that kid, she just sees you.
At least this guy won't go, She went to her husband one night and said, "I've got this new client, and you're gonna have to get me pregnant."
Yeah, you're gonna have to get me pregnant.
I gotta get rid of him.
I can barely handle 9 more months of this.
I can't stand it. But no, I had there was an incident where I had the couple of days leading up to this particular session.
Yeah.
I'd had my hair cut.
Okay.
And my
I'm wondering as to why that's important, but
it's a relevant piece of information, right? I'd had my hair cut, and Maya had been paid for. Maya's a freelance translator, interpreter, generally a whole host of marvelous things, as well as being a very talented novelist. She'd got some money in, and she said, "I want to treat you and get you a nice haircut."
Yeah.
And I went to this place, and I normally pay between £5 and £7.50 for my haircut. And I think it was something ridiculous, like about 30 quid.
Okay.
And I sat there, and I went on for probably about 45 minutes of a 50-minute counselling session, talking about how my self-esteem was so bad that the idea of having a £30 haircut should have been really nice, but I actually just was really nervous about the whole idea of
because you didn't think you deserved a haircut that was of that value.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
However, in the same week, I'd been held at gunpoint.
Right.
In Alexandra Park, near Moss Side, by a group of I turned the situation around to the extent that there was 4 guys. It was quite late on in the evening.
Yeah.
There was 4 guys, one of whom had a Glock 9mm, and I took it off him.
Right. You disarmed him. He had a gun, and you disarmed him.
And I'm badass.
What martial arts background do you have?
I started off boxing when I was about 8. Did karate, boxing. Then when I was in the cadets, there was a group of us all done. There was a guy who was doing Wing Chun. There was a guy who was doing Taekwondo. There was another boxer. There was another guy doing karate, and we just used to hang out as a group. And it was kind of like a Jean-Claude Van Damme 80s version of Goonies or something like that.
Yeah.
Where we just hung around. It was a slightly dysfunctional group where we just hung out, beating crap out of each other.
Yeah.
And then had a bit more formalised training at different points in my life, and it was kind of. It was a really stupid situation that I got myself into. It was completely and utterly my fault. But I think just the sheer fact that I had the balls to... I was thinking, if I don't get myself out of this situation, I'm going to be front page news in the Manchester Evening News tomorrow.
Yeah.
People are going to be on the metro thinking, what a dickhead.
What a guy.
Yeah, what a plonker. Why would you go in that white, middle-aged, overweight, what the fuck are you doing in that area at night?
So what did they actually want from you? Like, why was the gun pulled?
It was money. It was just money. It was just money and phone and all that sort of stuff. But it was the kind of... It was the situation where I just wasn't sure how south it was going to go.
Yeah. For
me to just hand the shit over.
So how did it end up? What happened?
I got the gun off him.
It was not loaded.
It wasn't loaded.
Okay.
I got the gun off him. But I think for a second or two, the kind of the primitive part, the limbic system, the primitive part of the brain.
Yeah.
For them, they were suddenly the tables were turned.
Yeah.
I could feel the weight of the gun wasn't as heavy as it would have been.
Yeah, and you'd handled weaponry before.
Well, cadets and stuff. So I'd kind of, I kind of knew, I had a sense. There was also a part of me that was still pretty disbelieving at that stage that this was actually happening.
Yeah. It was almost like you were like, you serious? Like,
it's a fucking gun! It's Manchester!
It's Manchester. Get a knife like a real person. Grow up.
I was a bartender! It's not like I'm not working for the military. And I took it off him, and then I just went into complete, like, I don't know, just like complete rush hour mode, where I was just like, get out of the floor! What the fuck are you doing?
But they knew it wasn't loaded.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think that it was just the how fucking crazy this is. Not only is, I think the shock of, because like I did some sessions at Krav Maga when I was about 30, 28, 30, something like that. And there's a move where you
I know the move.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You
so
cross the gun
you
like
cross
that.
the gun
and it flips it back on them, and then you can grab and throw it or grab it.
But I had the gun, and then I just turned into this kind of crazy, just monarchical kind of.
How many of them was there? Was it just one
4.
guy? 4 of them. And did they all surrender at that point?
Yeah, because I was just like, how do you know I haven't got bullets? You got a gun. You're walking around with a gun. How do you know I haven't got bullets? Sit down, get down. And then I just liked it.
Yeah. You take the gun with you?
Yeah, I put it in a bin on the way out.
Yeah, that's fine. Did you ever call the police about this?
No, because I had this kind of I do have this kind of weird I did kind of think about it in the rush of the moment. I was thinking my prints are all over the gun. There's 4 of them and 1 of me.
Yeah.
So the chances of actually anything really happening, nothing had actually really gone down.
Other than a conversation that involved the producing of a gun.
Yeah.
Like
and I was just kind of like, well,
because no one was hurt as well, like that gun's no longer in their hands, it's no longer in your hands, it just goes away.
There was a kind of conversation that went on in my head, which was also going on at the same time as me running, with a really bad bag, and thinking, I was really nervous. I kind of adrenaline had taken over, and I was kind of quite with them in that situation. I was in control. There was a point where I thought, if I just go completely crazy now and just kind of let off a little bit, then that's going to unsettle them before they realise I'm holding an unloaded gun.
Yeah.
I know it, they know it. But the other thing is that there was also a thought in my mind of like, what if I'm wrong? What if there's one? Because I didn't check the chamber or
So you never will actually know. It was only from the weight of the gun that you.
It was
kind of
it
did have a magazine in it.
It did have a magazine. There was just something about the kind of the feel of it. And
it definitely was an actual gun. It wasn't a BB.
No. It was because I could smell it.
Yeah,
I could smell the
gunpowder.
There's another smell, like oily smell. It's not just the gunpowder; it's like the gun oil.
Yeah,
I could smell it. It felt real as well. It didn't feel like, and it was the kind of the right shape and the handle for a Glock. And I've handled a Glock before, and that's what it felt like. So, there's so much going on in that situation, but I just thought.
Hindsight's a beautiful thing when you think back to situations like that. Could have done this, could have done that. Like even in like fighting, like combat situations, even in like training and that, you probably have times where you might have got clipped or you got submitted or something like that. And then afterwards you thought, oh, if only I had just done this or if only I had done that. But in that moment in time, your brain didn't have that as an avenue.
I think going back to married life, or comedy.
Comedy
heckling,
as well.
Heckle.
Things you could have said.
We all have like showers in the morning after gigs and go, oh, I would have said that.
Yeah.
That guy fucking owned you if I'd have said that. And it's not a situation where you can go back to the club, a few weeks later and just see if that guy's like, you.
Yeah. Had something really funny to say to you from that thing you yelled at me a fortnight ago.
Yell again. Do you remember that? Yeah.
You fucking monkey.
Yeah. So no, it's not.
Well, getting back to comedy, when did you decide that this is something that you wanted to do? Were you always like a comedy geek and then you thought maybe I can do it?
I've kind of talked about on stage before. I think my first comedy gig I was about 4 or 5. And
who let you do comedy at 4?
Well, that was the thing. It wasn't something that was. It was definitely improv. It was my first day of primary school.
Yeah.
And there was. I'm such an arsehole. There was something going on. There was a teachers' meeting, and the more I've kind of talked about it, or I don't know if I have done it on stage. Actually, I mean when I've done like comedy courses and stuff. But there was a teachers' meeting, and I think there's a possibility that somebody might have died.
Okay.
But I can't really imagine another scenario where all the teachers would leave all the classes unattended the very first day of school for the first 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't like, oh, so-and-so, you know, Mr. So-and-so is not coming back from the summer. Oh, why? Has he got a new job? No, he's dead. So I don't know. There's a very anarchical part of me that thinks that was the situation. But there was something going on, and the teachers left us all, and we were all there, and I'm fairly certain there was a point where somebody had said something to you. I don't know. It was one of my relatives or a family friend or something, because we had quite a tight-knit sort of locality, a few houses around ours. We kind of knew people and stuff.
Yeah.
But somebody had said something like, you know, try and make friends, you know, try and impress people.
Yeah.
There was that impetus to.
That's like the first time you're introduced to like large group interactions as a person, because up until that point, until you get to school, you've never really been introduced to a large group of people that you're going to spend a lot of time with, and kids are going to try and figure out what's my thing. Like everyone innately craves human interaction and like others' approval. That's why gangs are a thing. That's why the church is a thing. Yeah,
it's the peer thing, because I think for the other thing for me was there weren't other kids around. You know, I
didn't have any brothers and
sisters, cousins.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of thing. So that was the first time I'd been in a peer group.
Yeah. Of kids your same age.
People the same age, people that sort of, you know, that weren't, you know, very much taller than me, although that's still a problem. And I thought, you know, we should all, I should do something. Yeah. And there's probably an embryonic seed of my comedic career there. And I stood up on my chair and I said, right, I think we should all stand up on our chairs and sing Why Are We Waiting? And then the teacher will come back and we can start. And I was like, but let's all do it together. Let's all stand up. And I could imagine if somebody made a film of my life, that the next shot would be a really low travelling shot of the teacher's feet walking back up the corridor and then cut back to me going, right, everybody.
Production.
Jumped on the stage. I've got it all mapped out. I'm going to be played by Danny DeVito's son. And I jumped up on the I jumped up on the table and started singing while we were waiting. I was the only one.
Yeah. So you're the only one singing?
I was the only one.
No one else did it?
I was on my own. Everybody else was sat there, you know, fingers on the lips.
Being like, what the fuck is this kid doing?
You're a dickhead. We're going to screw you over. And I think since then, somebody gave me a tape at one point, one of the guys, secondary school, I think I got a tape, and one side was Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah.
And like a lot of his kind of early character stuff.
Yeah.
Tom, Dick and Harry and the Indian Waiter and lots and lots of really great stuff. And I listened to that until it wore out. And I think the other side was Jasper Carrot. There was Mike Harding, who was an old he was more of a folk singer, but he did like funny songs.
Yeah.
He was from Manchester. I think my auntie had a vinyl of his, and then I kind of got more and more stuff, and then kind of VHS came out when I was about 14 or 15, and that started to happen. We started to see Richard Pryor in movies, Gene Wilder, and then I found at one point, at some stage or other, Billy Connolly came into the frame.
Yeah.
And then Robin Williams. And I think since I watched Robin Williams live at the Met, and I thought,
I could do that.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's my and then I in uni, one of my friends was a kind of folky singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
And she got involved in, there was a charity gig, and they were looking for somebody to MC. And they asked me to MC it, and I had no fucking idea what I was doing at all. Now I'd have stormed it. Now I'd have fucking eaten it alive.
Yeah.
I'd have loved it. But then I think I had one joke where there was a construction company, they're quite a famous construction company now, called Con1, who were building something on campus, and I had this whole thing about, you know, do we really expect that Con1 are going to, you know, and I thought it was a great gag. I don't remember any other part of it. There was two parts I remember to that gig. One was that joke just falling completely silent, and it was like...
So that was like your first joke in front of an audience?
I don't think it was the first... I don't think it was the first joke of it, but I think it was the one that I thought was absolute gold.
That's the worst, when you think something's amazing and it just misses completely.
And that bit, it was like looking... You remember, have you ever seen Blues Brothers?
No. I'm a child.
Fucking hell!
I'm a child, mate.
Stop watching porn, start watching really old films.
Porn's amazing, mate. Just get around it.
No, I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm saying that there are
only got a
other
limited
things
number
to
of
watch.
hours in the day.
But there's a point in the Blues Brothers movie where they fill this theatre and they walk out and they play a song and it's completely like there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's just like 2,000 people there or something, and there's not even, you know, there's basically like what they call thingy brushes. You know, it's almost like that. You know, the tumbleweed.
Tumbleweeds. Yes.
It's that
the
kind of thing.
Thingy bushes. That's like
2,000. You've walked out on stage to like an arena,
yeah,
and you're not funny.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt, and there was probably about 100 people in the room.
Yeah.
But that was my first. And then I talked a big game for a long time. I was the funny guy in the office. I nearly got sacked I worked at Manchester United Football Club for a while, and I nearly got sacked from there for what was considered email bullying. And it was a really weird kind of situation that just kind of happened, and I took a picture of a screenshot of John Candy and Steve Martin in bed from a film, and I'm not even going to embarrass myself by bringing the film up because you won't have seen it. But if you can imagine John Candy, the massive guy,
I know who he is. Yeah.
And Steve Martin,
from Pink Panther. That's how I know
Yeah.
Steve Martin. I know he's been in other shit.
They were in this kind of buddy movie, and they cuddled up in bed. And they wake up, and they're almost complete strangers, and they end up sharing a bed.
Yeah.
And there's this point where it's like that, and the line was, "Where's your hand?" And he goes, "Here, I've got my hand." "No, where's your other hand?" "It's between two pillows." And he goes, "Those aren't pillows!" And they jump up, and they're like, "Hey, good game, father," kind of thing. And there was a situation that developed between two colleagues. One was really big, one was really small.
Yeah.
And apparently they shared a hotel room because neither of them could get home for the night.
Yeah.
And I took that screenshot, posted it around to my friends, and said, like, let's hope it wasn't like this.
Yeah.
And then
that was email bullying. See, I not bullied, but There was a guy we used to work with, and he was just really fun to make fun of because he was a creep and no one liked him. He was just really like rude to women and like real creepy. So we would just make jokes about him, and he got upset, took me to HR, and that was all good fun. But I was far worse than that. Like the things we would say about this bloke were terrible. But he was a bad guy.
Yeah, I
feel like that's a bit overkill. That situation.
I at that stage, I think that was the point. That whole scenario. I think I actually started doing stand up at that point.
Yeah.
I thought, everybody laughed.
Yeah.
Until one of the guys who it was about.
Yeah.
Got wind of it, and then it all kind of. And it
was
really
like
wasn't about that. His complaint was about other things that were going on that were nothing to do with me.
Okay.
But that ended up as a lightning rod.
Yeah.
And I started doing stand-up then. I did it for about a year, and then I had a nervous breakdown. That was about 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
And then oh fuck.
We're in June 2018 now, if that helps.
In 1950. So not November just gone, the November before that.
Okay. November 2016.
Something like that. Maya got really fed up with me being around the house trying to be funny.
Yeah, and she said, just go back out and do it.
No, she didn't even do that. She did probably...
She said, I'm getting a divorce, and you said, hang on.
No, she booked me on for King Gong and Beat the Frog without telling me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got these emails of saying, thanks for
registering. Can't wait to see you.
Can't wait to have you on. And I was like... And I went to her. And then the thing is, I was really naive in that moment that I didn't think that's what had actually happened. I was like, this is really weird.
Yeah.
This is like,
they want me to do it. Somehow they know about it.
Yeah, somehow it's a glitch in the Matrix. Which is another joke you're not going to get.
No, I've seen the Matrix.
If there's anybody over the age of 16 listening to the podcast, I'm fucking funny.
The audience is all under 16, mate.
And I went...
That's how we get away with so much shit.
This week, I'm Machin, and I want to bleep.
Yeah. No, I don't bleep anything, mate. Say whatever the fuck you want.
There's about half an hour of silence.
It's half an hour of movie quotes. Fuck it all.
Yeah, and I kind of like... Since I kind of really went at it, I did King Gong every single month throughout all of 2017, pretty much. And I've done 5 seconds, I've done 10 seconds, and I've done 5 minutes, and been at the People's Choice at the end and stuff. I've done Beat the Frog. I did Beat the Frog. And I just kind of, I think I've got to that stage now where I don't know if it's either just give him a fucking MC spot, take the pin out, and hope that the room's still there at the end of it.
Yeah.
Whether that's been the approach, or whether I'm actually funny or not, because I still really don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Or whether it is a case that I've just paid my dues and I'm getting there and things. I'd like to think that's the case. I think it doesn't harm. It doesn't necessarily do me any favours, in the sense of I've not gotten slots at the Comedy Store just because I wear a t-shirt for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And I do 13 hours. A week behind the bar. I think I've done Alex Boardman's night now. I've done Toby's. I'm about to do Toby's again later on in the year. So that's been the progression for me. And did the Frog and Bucket comedy course, which is really, really good. The stand-up course last year, and then I bounced down to London and did a writing course at the Angel. And that was really good, and it's kind of progressed, but I still know I'm not doing enough.
Yeah, you feel like you could always do more.
Yeah, I'm not doing sort of Fab Cafe a lot. because Thursday nights, if I can catch a shift, I'll catch a shift.
Yeah.
Like I want to do Shark more and get into those. Comedy Balloon I've done loads of times. But I can't do anything else.
Yeah. Other than being on stage, I feel like that is the best way to develop. Like, I've done no comedy courses, no writing courses, no nothing, and I don't really know if I ever will. And it's not that I sit here being like, oh, it's not for me, I don't need a comedy course. It's just the fact that I just can't be bothered doing a course, and I think the best way to learn, the best way to get better is just go on stage and die.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the best way to learn.
I don't think the courses are going to make you funny, or one fun. I don't think you're that funny, so maybe you should do it. I'm not saying that. I think from the point of view of I don't think you can, or anyone. I don't think one can learn to be funny. I think you can learn the tricks of the trade. Yeah. By all sense, but if you haven't got the natural ability to see the humour in things,
it's going to be very difficult.
It's going to be, almost impossible for you to communicate that into an audience. Because if you find something funny, I'm trying to think of who it was. I'd say, it's kind of one of the. I hate the pre-laugh. I've heard other people who don't like it either, but I hate that sort of it's more of a conversational thing. Oh, remember this really funny thing that happened, and then you tell the story. Yeah. And people are thinking, I should be laughing at him. It's a social pressure thing. Yeah. And I've seen that done on stage, and it's cheap. Yeah. And I think one of the funniest things I saw, and it was a beautiful thing to see. There was a guy, I didn't catch his name. There's this guy. He came to King Kong a few months back, and he's an Asian guy. Had a rucksack on his back, had a big coat, baseball cap, glasses, beard. Got on stage, and the first 5 or 6 seconds, he just got the robes out from underneath. Yeah. And he kind of went like that with the rucksack, and there was probably about 150 people in the Comedy Store. Yeah. All went shit. Inside there was like, because I was like, no, it's a gag, it's fine. Because
he was trying to act like he was a suicide bomber.
And then he went into this whole, why suicide bombers are dickheads. Yeah. And it was a beautiful piece of comedy theatre, because he gauged the audience absolutely bang on that white privilege would just have everybody going, oh no. And it was gloriously anarchic. Yeah. And I was like, there was a part of me that just wanted to grab the money and the crown. Yeah. Run on stage as a member of staff and just fucking give it. And the great thing about it is he did go on win. Yeah. Which is probably one of the few times in the, 18 months of either participating or seeing King Kong on a regular basis from the inside, that I think somebody truly deserved it. Yeah. In the first 5 seconds. Yeah. If he'd have got up there and told knock jokes, he still would have got kudos for the fact that he had the balls to go up there and do that. Yeah. Because he just played on it. It was everything. Yeah.
Because that was his look, that was his shtick.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Well, look, Si, we have done over an hour already. Time flies when you're having fun. But, absolutely. Where can people see you? Where you've got a date booked? Or?
I've got 27th of June. I'm at the library in Chorlton. I think, and then I've got Toby's not got back to me yet, but I want to say 28th of October. I think I'm back at the Comedy Store, and in between then and now, it's kind of I'll just go where I'm.
Just go with the flow.
Go with the flow, and I need to get back to the Comedy Balloon.
Comedy Balloons, Wednesday nights,
Wednesday
Ape and Apple.
nights.
They're doing a bunch of Edinburgh previews at the moment, so if you want to see a good quality 1 hour show that you'd have to pay money for in Edinburgh, you can see it for free in Manchester. Look, thank you very much, Si. I will let you go. And next episode, we're going to have Tuesday Tony, the runner of Fab Cafe. So thanks so much, Si.
Cheers, mate.